Hi, everybody. Kevin Longquist, publisher of Sikkim Sports, and we're happy to have you with us again on our third installment of talking to all these Baylor players off the 2019 team that made it to the Sugar Bowl 11-win season, now finding their way to the NFL. We're joined now by long snapper Ross Matiscik. And he taught me how to say that just so I could have it in time ready for this interview. But everyone's favorite long snapper. And Ross, first of all, congratulations. Signed his deal with the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday. We'll get to the details of that in just a little bit moment. But Ross, take us through when the season ended again in the Sugar Bowl against Georgia to how you ended up becoming a Jacksonville Jaguar. Because a lot of people will look at a long snapper and say, well, is that a position that can really make it in the NFL? But if you're really, really good at it, which you're really, really good at that, you put yourself in a position to where you are now. So kind of take us through that process, how it all went down.
Started off, I moved back home, back to McKinney after the game. Was working out at Michael Johnson Performance here in town. And then Clay Johnson moved in with me and was working out there as well. So I got an extra brother for a couple of weeks with him. And then, after the Corona hit, everything kind of slowed down and teams started calling, asking for a good draft day number. And there's a few teams in the mix when it came down to the end. But, Jacksonville I thought was a good fit for me. My agent thought as well. They have good opportunity, great special teams coach, and we decided to go there. So I'm excited about it.
So let's talk about that. I mean, did you ever see, or was the kind of conventional wisdom saying, is this even realistic? Could this even happen where a guy who does one thing could actually have a chance to be not so much make an NFL roster, because there's more to go from that standpoint, but just become a guy who could actually get invited to join a team? I mean, what was your thoughts about this and how realistic it was and what the odds were or things of that nature?
Well, after seeing Jimmy Landis do it, he was kind of one of my buddies for that 1 year at Baylor. I spent with him and saw how he actually got drafted and made the team with the Lions. And after seeing him do that, it kind of got in my head, hey, maybe I can make a career out of this, make a living out of this. But I would be able to play football again for an extra year or so. So whenever that all happened, it kind of got in my mind. And then my 4 years at Baylor that I spent as a long snapper, I got better. And then, Coach Rule told me, hey, look, man, you could do this at the next level if you really want to pursue it. And then after the Big 12 championship game, actually had a few agents reach out to me, and I signed with a really good agent that really thought I had a great opportunity playing at the next level. So after all that kind of transpired, I thought I had a legit opportunity to make the NFL.
So let's talk a little bit about as far as, becoming a real perfectionist at this, because you're probably the most invisible man on a roster, and everyone knows that until the snap goes awry or something like that.
Not say those words.
Exactly. But, you became so proficient at this that you kind of developed a name for yourself. So do you think that with your reputation, maybe that there was a little bit of a reputation there that preceded you to where NFL teams and even agents knew of you and how much of a quality player you were, or at least how well you were in that role? So, this is a guy that we could probably take a look at.
Yeah, I think one thing that really helped me stand out was just my playmaking ability and my athleticism. Coming from being a linebacker and then ending my career as a linebacker, that definitely helped. But, when you get to this level, everybody can snap. So you got to kind of find something that can separate you. And I felt that my athleticism really helped me do that, my speed downfield and coverage ability. So I think that really made some extra eyes look at me.
So let's talk about it as far as the key of being a quality, consistent, long snapper. What do you think that really entails, and what do you think you found to put yourself in that position?
My thing is just trust your training, honestly. If you ask any of my teammates, especially the specialists, I snap the ball 24/7 during practice. I always have a ball in my hand, and I just want to make sure the snap's right. And then, practice. And when you get to the game, you've done it a million times. Just don't let the moment be bigger than it is. Take a deep breath and put the ball where it needs to be.
Is it almost to the point where it's so muscle memory for you, Ross, that you can tell from the moment that you even get in your position before, or when you put your hand on the ball saying that doesn't feel right, or you can even tell just by your motion when something is perfect or something is off by just a little bit?
Absolutely. Most of the time I know where the ball is without even looking back and see where my punter caught it or my holder caught it. Just from my release, the way my hands swung, the way my hips moved, I usually have a good idea where the ball is without even looking. But yeah, that just comes from repetition. As a snapper, you just do it over and over and over. It's the same thing. You're going to be 8 yards apart on field goals. You're going to hold the ball the same way, and it's not like you have any real variables in your way. On punt, he's going to be 15 yards back, and if you do the same thing every time, the ball should go in the same place. So there's not much things that change, and you're in control of the whole environment. So that's one thing that I really like about being a long snapper is that it's all in my control. It's all on when I decide to snap it.
Let's talk a little bit about your relationship with Jimmy Landis. You said, when you were working with him or just getting to know him, that he played, you saw something from him that kind of influenced you. What kind of an influence was he on you?
Well, anyone that knows Jimmy knows that he's just a jokester and, he makes everyone laugh. But he's a great guy, and he was a great leader in the locker room my freshman year. We had a great year that year. And just seeing his work ethic and, how he didn't take himself seriously, but he took what he did very seriously. And that's one thing that you find most specialists is that the moment's not bigger than themselves, and they don't really take themselves too serious. But, when it goes to snap the football, they're locked in and they make sure that they get their job completed at a high level because a lot of the team is counting on you. So I saw that in him, and he always did his job and delivered for the team.
Now let's go back to Saturday evening when you agreed to sign with Jacksonville. Just take us through that scenario. Who were the other organizations that you were discussing with? And I want you to delve into a little bit more as to why you decided to go with the Jaguars.
Yeah, it really came down to Jacksonville, Tampa, or the Giants up in New York. But we just felt that was my best decision. They have a young snapper there who's a great snapper, but we just thought that was a good position for me to go in there and have a great opportunity to make the team. Yeah.
So let's take us through, because when we were talking to Clay Johnston about this earlier in the week, he said, or this past Sunday, he said something about like he was going to start to know what the expectations were. Like he was going to know a lot more on Monday about this past Monday about what workouts or schedules or things of that nature, and that the first virtual meetings were going to start around May 11th. So kind of take us through what these last 48 hours have been like for you with the Jaguars, things that they've sent you, things that you need to work on when meetings start, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I've talked to the special teams coordinator and the assistant special teams coach, just talking about how they're excited to have me down there and get to work, and how I'm excited to get there. But what I'm told is we're having a virtual rookie minicamp, May the 8th. So I don't know how it differs from the Rams at all, but that's just what I was told. It's all tentative due to, what's going on with Corona and whatnot. But I was told May the 8th, and I've talked to the players personnel guy, and they're going to send me an iPad, I believe, at the end of the week or next week to start digging in the playbook and, kind of learning the footwork and what they expect of me to be a Jaguar.
Now, Florida is one of those states that just recently has started to reopen in certain sections. Have the Jaguars communicated to you about potential travel, what that could mean, or are they just not really willing to go there just yet?
They just said as soon as they can get me out there, they're going to get me out there. But, who knows when that's going to be. I'm sure it's going to be a league-wide thing where, I'm sure there's a restriction where Florida can't have guys come in first or whatnot. I'm sure it's going to be, it's all going to be at the same time. So, whenever that time is, we don't know that time yet, but hopefully it's sooner than later because I'm excited to get down there.
Okay, so doing a virtual mini camp, as odd as it seems, but we're all kind of in this virtual world right now, and we have been pretty much for the last 6-7 weeks. So for you, when you were getting, I'll kind of take this back weeks before the draft. So were you sending a lot of these? You were doing a lot of, I'm sure, discussions with coaches this way, kind of like what we're doing.
Yeah.
But you were also having to send a lot of tape, what they probably already had from Baylor games, or maybe you also had to send some other workout stuff between January and April of what you had been doing, just to show where your form was once the season ended.
Yeah, definitely. So Justin Snow, who's a former Baylor long snapper and defensive end that played for the Colts for, I believe, 12 years. He's my snapping coach. So I went and visited him early February, and we filmed some stuff. I stayed at his house with him and his family, and we filmed some stuff and, sent that out to the guys we knew and the coaches that had contacted me. And then I went with Jamie Cool of Cole's kicking camps. They're like a nationwide kicking organization that helps, players go to the next level. And they came into town, and I filmed some stuff with them, and we got that out. I gave it to my agent, and he was able to send it out. And then with all the pro days being canceled, Michael Johnson, where I was working out at, put on a little mini pro day, I guess you'd say, for some of their guys. And we got that filmed, and we sent that out as well. So I had a little bit of film and footage of current Ross to send out to the teams to allow them to evaluate me better.
So from your standpoint, the expectations are to be higher. The margin for error is even tighter than what it was at the collegiate level.
Yeah.
I want you to take us through, Ross, about what everyone deals with pressure. That's kind of a daily life kind of thing. But in terms of if you're going to make your name and if you're going to make this roster for the Jaguars, what have you kind of mapped out in your mind, or what have you kind of thought about initially about saying, I'm going to do this, and if I'm going to make this, maybe it's the practice squad, or maybe it is the 53. What do you think it's going to take for you once things get going with this virtual mini camp moving forward?
Well, first, like you said, just be perfect. I got to be perfect in every snap. I'm going in there to take a grown man's job, food off the table. So just be perfect. And I think I have to be able to block at an elite level. I think I have to be able to learn the playbook at an elite level. And I think I have to, show that what I hope is going to separate me is my coverage ability. So I think if I can snap the way I've been snapping and continue to be consistent with that, along with showing that I have great footwork and are able to transition into a block well, and then finally be able to cover as well. I think those three things will really separate me heading into the next level, and especially into camp.
I want to ask you, the moment that you signed this contract with with Jacksonville,
yeah.
maybe just signing documents with Baylor too at one point. How are those feelings different? How are they the same?
Well, when you sign with Baylor, I signed for 4 years, so I knew no matter what, I was there for 4 years, and I was going to have, time to grow, time to mature. And, I would have people in my corner that would help me get there. With Jacksonville, really it's just an opportunity. And it could be for one day, it could be for, 12 years, whatever. But the way I look at it, it's an opportunity to go in there and make a name for myself and, prove that organization that they made a good decision bringing me in. So the moment wasn't bigger than itself. Yeah, it's great and all that, I'm currently on an NFL team, but take it with a grain of salt that there's still a lot of work to be done and nothing is guaranteed. Unlike college where you have at least 4 years.
Sure. Well, Ross, we really enjoyed this visit with you tonight. Thanks so much for doing this. Congratulations again with the opportunity with Jacksonville. We're looking forward to tracking your progress as we go over the coming days. And good luck with the virtual mini camp.
Yeah, appreciate it.
About a week plus.
Appreciate it.
All right. That's Ross. Matiscik, the ever-famous Baylor long snapper and the newest member of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm Kevin Longquist for Sikkim Sports. Yeah, I know my last name. And we will talk to you all next time.
All right. Thank you, guys. Sikkim Bears.